and welcome to day 6. It's going to be an exciting day. We're almost done with the week. Today we're going to actually learn 2 songs. One is More Holiness Give Me, and the other one is Come Come Ye Saints. We'll learn Come Come Ye Saints on the banks of the Mississippi River back in Illinois, just outside of Nauvoo. We're going to travel down what they call the Trail of Hope. It's the street that they took down to the Mississippi River before they crossed it when they left Nauvoo. But for the first hymn, More Holiness Give Me, we're going to learn a couple of things on here. One are triplets. We haven't learned those yet. We're going to play a F sharp and an F natural. And we'll also have a chord in here for an A minor chord. Now we've talked about that before, but we'll review that just so that you'll know how to do that. So let's look at this first hymn and we'll practice the triplets. But let's review just for a second. When a hymn is in 4/4, we count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's for quarter notes. If we have eighth notes, we could count it as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This is where we're giving 2 beats, 2 counts to a beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now a triplet is where we're going to do 3 counts to a beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you do that with me? Let's do triplets. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Now in this hymn, on the second beat of every measure is a triplet. So it will be like this. If we count it to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The second beat will be in triplets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you do it with me now? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there's different ways you can count it. Like I said, ooh, ooh, ooh. Another way that I learned when I was growing up was lolly. So I'd have 1, 2 lolly, 3, 4. Lolly helps your tongue go la 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 la, lolly, lolly, lolly. So you can do that if you want to. Or you could use T. 1, 2, da, da, 3, 4. So let's look at the hymn on the first line and see what it has. It starts on E, and then the second measure is the triplet. Notice the 3 has a bracket with a 3 over it. And then an F sharp, and then our G. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if we use lolly, 1, 2 lolly, 3, 4. Now let's go down to the second line. Now we're going to jump down to our second finger here and go 1, 2 lolly, 3, 4. Now let's go to the third line. 1, 2 lolly, 3, 4. Notice that's exactly the same as the first line. Now our fourth line, we have our G. Now notice our F is sharped. Now because we have the sharp on the first of the Fs, the second F is automatically sharp. That sharp sign goes throughout the entire measure, but drops off in the next one. So it's 1, 2 lolly, 3, 4. Now the next measure, notice we have an F natural. And that F natural is just the regular F, and we're going to do that through the whole measure here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next measure, up to an A. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the next line up to a C. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to bring our little finger down here on the last measure, 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice that the F is an F natural. And it's not a sharp, it's an F natural. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this one is in the key of C. It has 4 beats to a measure. You play it prayerfully. So we have on our first line we have our C. And then our second line we'll have a C, and then we'll have our G. Third line is our C. Now our fourth line is an A minor. Now bring your little finger down to A minor, A, and then just have your A minor, and then G could just be the root right down below if you would like to. So at the very beginning, if we wanted to play it all in the root position, we could have C. We do the C, we come down to the G, A minor, G, C, and then we could come up to our F and C. Or if we play it in an easy fashion where the fingers are close together, here's our C, here's our G where we just move our 2 fingers down, back to our C. And now if we wanted to do an A minor, all we have to do is raise our thumb up here. So here's our C, here's an A minor. Now if you take that same hand position and go down to, there's your G, which you're already familiar with, back to C, and then here's your F and your C. So there's those 2 ways, and then the last way, which is the easiest way, is doing just a single note. So you have a C, G, an A, G, or an F. So let's play it now with both hands together. Pretty easy. Let's try counting it from the very beginning here. Count with me out loud. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not too hard. You can do it. It's easy. Now, let's go back to Illinois, to the Nauvoo, and I'll introduce you to the Trail of Hope. I know you're going to enjoy it. Hi, and welcome to day 6. We're at a very special place where we're going to be learning the hymn, Come, Come Ye Saints. Today, we're here at the beginning of what's called the Trail of Hope. It says in 1846 began the Mormon exodus from Nauvoo, leaving behind their homes, beautiful city, family, and friends, who they quite possibly would never see again in this life. As they journeyed west, they recorded their feelings and experiences in personal journals. From these journals, we get a sense of what it would be like to have traveled with them. Some selected writings from these journals are reproduced on the signs along this trail to the river. So we'll follow this trail down to the Mississippi River, and we may read one of these journal entries. So follow me, and then we'll meet at the Mississippi River. Here's a journal entry from Orson Pratt. Our camp resounded with songs of joy and praise to God. All were cheerful and happy in the anticipation of finding a resting place from persecution in some of the lonely, solitary valleys of the great interior basin, whithersoever we might be led. This one's from Wilford Woodruff. He says, I stopped my carriage at the top of a rolling prairie, and I had a splendid view. I could see the saints pouring out and gathering like clouds from the hills and dales, groves and prairie, from with their teams, wagons, flocks, and herds, by hundreds and thousands, as it were, until it looked like the movements of a great nation. Okay, here we are on the bank of the Mississippi River. Let's roll out our piano. Today we're going to be learning Come Come Ye Saints. This is probably one of the hardest songs in the book here, because William Clayton, who wrote it, put in a couple of different time signatures that I want to review with you. At the very beginning of here, we'll notice that we're in the key of G, because we have the one F sharp, and we start in 4/4, so we'll count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. However, in the third measure, he switches over to 3/4, and he does that for 2 measures. Then he switches back to 4/4 for 2 measures, and then back to 3/4 for the rest of the song. Now this may seem a little confusing, but it really is not that hard, because you're already familiar with the sound of the hymn. So it'd go like this. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then it repeats itself. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1. Now notice down here at the very bottom of the page, it has a fermata. So it's going to pause on the second beat there. So it'll be 1, 2, pause, 3. Then it goes up, sorry. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So what I suggest is clapping the rhythm while you're singing it, while you're counting out loud, to get that rhythm so it's just right. All right, let's look at the chords now for this song. They're very easy, but we're going to learn one new chord in here. But remember that this is in the key of G, so we have F sharp, and we have 3 main chords, G, D, and C. So those are very simple, but our new chord is A. And you'll notice here on the second line it says A, and it has a small M to it. What that M stands for is an A minor. A minor chord has a little different sound than the other chords that we have, but the notes of this are A, C, and E. And when you play those, you'll hear that it has just a little different sound than the G, C, and D. When you play those, now you'll be able to do it in one of 2 ways. You can just play the A note, or you can play A, C, and E together just as you do the G chord. So if you do the G chord, now just move your little finger up one note and do your C and E. There's your A minor chord. It happens twice in the song, so it's not too difficult. So try playing the G chord and close your eyes, and now just move up one note and see if you can play the A minor. Now do the G chord, the C chord moving up, the D chord. Now remember, the D chord has an F sharp in it, and then the A minor chord. So practice going back and forth on these chords till you feel comfortable. One other hint that I'd like to teach you is always have a red pencil or a pen or something like this and mark up your music. So when you come back to it the next day or the next week, you remember the notes that you made. On mine, I've circled the 3/4, the 4/4, and the 3/4 here to make sure it stands out on here. You might circle the fermata down here to say, oh yes, I have to remember to pause on that. Maybe circle the A minor chords. Say, oh, this is a little more difficult on here. The Come Come Ye Saints is a beautiful song written by William Clayton, and he wrote this when he was in far west Missouri while his wife was back here having a baby. So Brigham Young asked him to write this so the saints would have a song that they could sing around the campfires and when times got tough. So this is a wonderful one to learn here with the background of the Mississippi River and at the end of the Trail of Hope as the saints went across. And I hope you have a great day learning this one. Count out loud, practice the chords, practice singing the hymns. Know that the 3/4, 4/4, and 3/4, while they may look difficult, hey, it's very easy on that one. So you have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. This is by Margaret Judd Clausen. She said, "How well I remember what a hard time Father had breaking in the animals to draw the wagon. There were 6 cows and 2 oxen. The oxen were well broken and quite sedate, but the cows were wild and unruly. While Father was breaking the cattle, Mother was praying. Many nights, when we were in bed asleep, she would go out into the orchard and there pour out her soul in prayer, asking the Lord to open the way for us to go with the saints." This is from Louisa Barnes Pratt, June 7th, 1846. Last evening, the ladies met to organize. Several resolutions were adopted. If men wish to hold control over women, let them be on the alert. We believe in equal rights. This is from William Hyde. He said, "The thoughts of leaving my family for the Mormon Battalion at this time are indescribable. My family consisted of a wife and 2 small children who were left in company with an aged father, mother, and brother. The most of the battalion left families. When we were to meet with them again, God only knew. Nevertheless, we did not feel to murmur." This is from an Indian chief, Chief Pied Ritchie from the Potawatomi tribe. He said, "So we have both suffered. We must help one another, and the Great Spirit will help us both." From Hosea Stout, he said, "He died in my arms about 4 o'clock. This was the 2nd child which I have lost, both dying in my arms. He died with the whooping cough and black canker. We are entirely destitute of anything, even to eat, much less to nourish the sick." Bathsheba Smith said, "My last act in that precious spot was to tidy the rooms, sweep up the floor, and set the broom in its accustomed place behind the door. Then with emotions in my heart, I gently closed the door and faced an unknown future, faced it with faith in God, with no less assurance of the ultimate establishment of the gospel in the West, and of its true enduring principles than I had felt in those trying scenes in Missouri." Mary Field Gardner said, "We hurried to pack up some food, cooking utensils, clothing, and bedding, which was afterward unpacked and strewn over the ground by the mob as they searched for firearms. Mother had some bread already in the kettles to bake, Of course, she didn't have time to bake, so she hung it on the reach of our wagon and cooked it after we crossed the Mississippi River. This is from Bathsheba W. Smith. She said the fall of 1845 found Nauvoo, as it were, one vast mechanic shop, as nearly every family was engaged in making wagons. Our parlor was used as a paint shop to paint the wagons. George Q. Cannon said, "Those of us who can remember when we were compelled to abandon Nauvoo, when the winter was so inclement, know how dark and gloomy the circumstances of the saints were, with the mob surrounding our outer settlements and threatening to destroy us, and how trying it was to the faith of the people of God. The word was to cross the Mississippi and to launch out into an unknown wilderness, to go where no one knew. Who knew anything of the terrors of the journey thither, or of the dangers that might have to be met and contended with? Who knew anything about the country to be traversed? Moving out with faith that was undisturbed by its unknown terrors, it was by faith that this was accomplished." Belknap said, "Some had covers drawn over their wagons, while others had only a sheet drawn over a few poles to make a tent. Sometimes these rude tents were the only covering for them. While keeping the watchman post in the darkness of the night, I wept over the distressed condition of the saints. Toward the dim light of many a flickering lamp have my eyes been directed because of the crying of the children, the restless movements of the aged, infirm and mournful groan of many suffering from fever. These have made an impression on my mind which can never be forgotten." B.H. Roberts wrote, "With this advance camp of the great Exodus, there had come a brass band led by Captain Pitt. After encampment was made, and the toils of the day were over, the snow would be scraped away and a huge fire, or several of them, kindled within the wagon enclosure. And there, to the inspiring music of Pitt's band, song and dance often beguiled the exiles into forgetfulness of their trials and discomforts." Merrifield Gardner said, "The suffering and sadness of that camp I shall never forget. It is impossible to describe the cries of the hungry children, the sadness of the others for the loss of their loved ones. What a terrible night of misery. We didn't even have a light except a candle which flickered out in the wind, and rain as it was carried from one place to another." Newell White said, "Here we all halted and took a farewell view of our delightful city. We also beheld the magnificent temple rearing its lofty tower towards the heavens. My heart did swell within me.